More than 2 decades ago, tracking data was made available to clubs competing in the, but there was one major problem: nobody working in the sport knew how to use it. In simple terms, tracking data consists of positional coordinates relating to players and their locations on the pitch, with their movements recorded by specialist cameras during matches. Back then, such data was used to determine little more than physical outputs. The amount of distance covered by a player over the course of 90 minutes was used to determine whether he was truly committed to the cause or not. It was all about running more and trying harder. The secrets of tracking data remained concealed for years, until a particle physicist by the name of Will Spearman began to undertake a personal project in his spare time. The Chicago-born scientist had developed an interest in team sports through his growing love for the New England Patriots, and it didn't take long before the perplexing nature of football grabbed his attention. While contracted to sports performance firm, Hudl, Spearman began to harvest some of the hidden powers of tracking data, initially creating an interactive model to assess and value space on the field. Pitch Control was the name of the product, and it had never been seen before. The model was created to determine the spaces on the pitch that each player or team controlled depending on a variety of different factors, including the location of the ball, and the top speed and acceleration of each individual player in comparison to his peers. It shows how you can close off space, how you can create space with runs, Spearman told FSG. In an exclusive interview. Upon seeing his groundbreaking work, his colleagues at Hudl were impressed and encouraged him to give a presentation about the details and inner workings of his unpolished model. Spearman did exactly that in 2016, having been named as a speaker at the OptaPro Analytics Forum. While giving his presentation in London, a certain was in attendance. A member of the audience at the time, the Welshman was intrigued, having worked to establish Liverpool's data science department from scratch for the previous 4 years. As the club's director of research, Graham had assembled a small team of scientists on Merseyside, purely as a means of turning the evidence-based vision of into a reality, with John Henry renowned for his faith in numbers when attempting to gain an edge over wealthier rival competitors. "I was getting up there showing stuff that I'd largely just worked on for fun for a week or so," said Spearman. "It was something people were really interested in, despite the fact that it was pretty early doors." In his talk, he opened up about the impact of positioning on control over the pitch, how certain players are more capable of contesting for the ball than others, and how passing decisions can be evaluated. Indeed, Graham introduced himself to Spearman at the conference, and 2 years later, he gave him a job. The holder of a Harvard doctorate was appointed as Liverpool's lead data scientist in 2018, and he was empowered to build upon his pitch control work by effectively completing his project at Anfield. Graham had already created applications to analyze potential transfer targets, but Spearman's insights would add an extra layer of context surrounding players and their contributions on the pitch. His work would also assist in his efforts to analyze matches and upcoming opponents. Spearman's pitch control model can determine the optimal decision for any player in possession at any given moment, which can help players improve and reflect upon their performances, and his work has even allowed them to determine pressing victims by calculating the amount of time it takes for each of their opponents to control the ball. Those who require more time can be exploited. Graham has managed Liverpool's data science department for more than a decade, but earlier this season, news emerged of his impending resignation. He's due to leave Anfield at the end of the season, and after much speculation, Spearman has been named as his successor. It is a welcome outcome for supporters, who have witnessed much of S' bulletproof structure deteriorate over the past 12 months. Michael Edwards left his role as sporting director last summer, and his internal replacement, Julian Ward, will resign at the end of the campaign for reasons which remain largely unknown. In addition, Graham's departure is confirmed, and Mike Gordon has stepped away from his duties on Merseyside in search of outside investors. By naming Spearman as Graham's heir, Liverpool is fostering some much-needed continuity at a turbulent time for the club, and it is replacing a pioneer with an innovator. Has been left with no choice on big Liverpool decision as transfer answer obvious has finally worked out Liverpool blueprint as Everton uncovers Darwin Núñez formula.